Well, I think it's pretty clear that one story has been understandably dominating the news this week, which is why we're devoting this entire episode of the Bugle so far to our top story this week. Ding dong, the is dead. Bada-boom, boom, boom. Another bites the dust. Shot in the eye, and you're to blame. You give a bad name. This is not so much a tribute episode to Bin Laden as a special eulogy to the big man. and I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy it. I expect to see that in a dictionary near me within 2 years.
Andy, you ended the last Bugle by saying that after the royal wedding, the world had nothing to look forward to anymore. And while, yes, Saturday in itself was quite boring, apart from Chelsea tightening the gap on the Premiership title race, you have to admit that Sunday really delivered, what with that whole killing of the most wanted terrorist on the planet thing. That's right. Osama bin Laden, the former leader of Al-Qaeda and former living inhabitant of the planet Earth, was forced to surrender both of those titles around the time that a bullet developed a very strong attraction to his face. And he was a tall, handsome man, bin Laden, Andy, but I have to admit that I always thought that he'd have looked even better if he'd considered getting his left eyebrow pierced with a bullet. And I think I was right about that. I think his face was successfully accessorised with a piece of high-speed, pointy metal jewellery.
It's a funny old world, though, isn't it, John? Because last week, most wanted man in the world. This week, a seriously malfunctioning submarine. And fish food. So, yeah, it just goes to show. Upon a slender thread. So, he's gone from, he's the leader of the world's most tedious minority interest pressure group, a man 5 times voted least cuddleable dude by Touchy Feely Monthly magazine, the man commonly known as the Rowdy Saudi, Terry the Terrorist, the Mighty Douche, the Tora Bora Law Ignorer, and the Angry Turnip. He had his clogs forcibly popped by American Special Forces, and I do wish that Barack Obama had used those words.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
have popped his clogs.
It certainly feels like a much more pleasant globe to live on this week without Bin Laden living on it too. It's like when a terrible neighbour moves away and property prices in adjacent properties automatically go up. By dying, Bin Laden has effectively gentrified this entire planet. To prove this, upon news of his death, the stock market went up and oil prices went down, as if collectively everyone agreed that things had just got slightly better, as if the world breathed a sigh of relief and together muttered, "Oh, good. That is good." Now, I don't know where you were when you found out, Andy. I'm guessing you were asleep. But I just finished watching 60 Minutes and was checking in with the Mets-Phillies game when it became clear that something very important was about to happen and the president was going to address the nation. And after watching him announce that America had successfully located and killed Bin Laden, I started watching the news, and then I flicked through the channels a couple of hours later to see that the Mets were still playing the Phillies. It was the 14th inning, and they had resumed the game, and most of the crowd was still there. And not only were they still there, they were watching the game with complete concentration. And I've got to say, as a sports fan, I find that so impressive. Remember, this is a meaningless game at the start of May between one team, which will challenge for the World Series, and one that will not make the playoffs. To care about that at all is a challenge. To care about that when it's just been announced that Bin Laden has been killed is incredible. The CIA's most wanted man has literally just been assassinated, and you are rooting for Raul Ibanez to get a base hit. I think my favourite reaction from all this actually came from the Mets manager after the game, because people in sports just cannot help themselves but speak in cliches, and that's never more exposed than in moments of deep, genuine significance. And in the post-game press conference, Terry Collins said this. He said, "Well, this is a good win for us, and obviously a huge win for America tonight." He should have carried on that thought. I think America really answered the critics tonight. Many have said that, to go on a 9-year streak of not killing Bin Laden was a slump we were never going to get out of. But I, for one, had nothing but faith in us as a team, and I knew if we just kept swinging, kept focused, we'd get that hit. As for the future, who knows where that holds? I'm just concentrating on a home series against the Giants next week. Thank you, no questions.
I think as well that Al Qaeda had a press conference in which they said, well, there's a lot of positives we could take away from this. Obviously, we're disappointed to lose Aussie, but we'd like to see it more as an opportunity for someone else to step up to the plate and deliver.
Of course, the best place to have heard the news would undoubtedly have been Tampa, Florida, in the middle of the crowd of a live WWE wrestling event. How do I know this? That's a fair question. Because I saw a clip on YouTube of a shirtless John Cena addressing the Tampa crowd to deliver the news at the end of a bout, saying, "I'm extremely proud after 10 months of being your WWE champion. I walk out every night with hustle, loyalty and respect on my sleeve." It's worth pointing out that at that point he was sleeveless. He went on to say...
not the names of his dogs tattooed onto his arm.
No. The president has just announced, he went on to say, that we have caught and compromised to a permanent end Osama bin Laden. Andy, that is magnificent rhetoric from the four-time tag team champion, inventor of the twisting belly-to-belly suplex, and self-styled doctor of thugonomics. In fact, all of those things are true. Right. In fact, if I'm honest, I prefer what John Cena said to the president's speech. Caught and compromised to a permanent end. That is linguistically sensational. In fact, that phrase is not all that the president should have borrowed. I think he should also have walked into the East Room of the White House and said, "I walk out every night with hustle, loyalty and respect on my sleeve." And I think he should also have done that shirtless, in a pair of cut-off jeans, holding a wide microphone before leaving to rock music and fireworks. I don't think anyone would have begrudged him that.